When discussing WVD opportunities, it's worth pointing out that Microsoft provides technology and the tools for partners to build desktop as a service business. It does not provide desktop as a service itself. Of course, some customers can build their own desktop as a service offering. However, Microsoft is keen for its partners to create their own desktop as a service offering and value add services around those. Even before WVD technology, desktop as a service was rapidly growing business opportunity. According to IDC, the business is growing at over 32% annually and is expecting to reach around $3 billion in the next year. In 2019, Gartner already expected that half of new virtual desktop users would be deployed on desktop as a service platforms. This is important because it illustrates the partner opportunity. Customers are no longer looking to buy software components. They are increasingly seeking to purchase a complete package service. Exactly the type of repeatable, high-margin service that WVD enables and that also will help you to put together and deliver. Windows Virtual Desktop based desktop as a service allows partners to start provisioning high-margin repeatable services. As increasing number of customers migrate to cloud, Azure Resell and Cloud Migration Project, which are just the first step to the cloud, are gradually becoming commoditized. So in terms of profitability, partners should consider building new services and value-added IP offerings or deep industry specializations. WVD is ideal high-value service that allows partners to build business models based on value-add repeatable services. Remember, 70% of customers rely on the partner support to build and maintain their cloud environment. If you would like to learn more about changing your company's business model to start providing higher margin cloud services, I recommend signing up for our business transformation video series. This short video explains in the basics how to transform your business model, operations, and marketing to benefit from the cloud-focused business model. We know there are generally three scenarios spanning any customer's industry. These are replace or migrate on-premise virtual desktop deployment, sell new Windows virtualization, or manage Windows 7 end of support with WVD. I will cover each of these later in the presentation. I would like to remind for those who are looking for the technical content that we have prepared two technical videos. One on the replace migrate scenario and other on new virtualization scenario. I believe that given the current situation of work from home requirements, both of these scenarios are important for the large number of customers. Because of months trying to work from home has revealed all the weaknesses and productivity sacrifices of technology currently in use. I also believe that customers will be willing to go ahead with this solution much faster than usual, and we at Also are thoughtfully committed helping our partners sell and deliver these solutions quickly. At the end of the presentation, I will share several ways Also can help with expertise, resources, and investments. Stay tuned. Let's now spend some time stepping into the customer's shoes and attempt to visualize WD from their perspective to understand why they would be so interested in this solution. In general, there are three reasons. It offers a user experience that is superior to any other solution, the ability to maintain high level of security and compliance, and the cost. We have already covered the user experience, so there I'll focus on the security and economics. WVD customers benefit from Microsoft investment in Azure security. It's incredibly important, particularly in the context of user working from home and from devices either from those issued by the company. There are three security advantages of WVD worth noting. First, reverse connect technology is used. This significantly reduces the possible attack surface. Essentially, it means that inbound ports to VM are not open, so there are fewer places for malicious actors to attack. Second, the possibility to define role-based access means the customers can parse out administration tasks and protect their most sensitive user groups and workloads. And third, every user session is isolated in the case of multi-session environments. As WVD is hosted on Azure, it relies on Azure Security Services that are built on real-time security knowledge gained from Microsoft Security Graph. And the third reason why customers will want to use WVD is the cost of it. The cost makes it attractive even to small and medium-sized businesses, which wouldn't normally consider paying for virtual remote desktop solutions. If we look at virtual desktop cost, there are three big cost components that you need to be aware of: infrastructure, licensing, and labor. WVD can help you achieve significant cost saving in all three. Let's look at summary of cost saving, and then we'll spend some time looking at each of these components in more detail. On infrastructure, customers can save around 70%. WVD is running on Microsoft Azure. Therefore, cost savings comes from optimized compute, storage, and network cost. If we look at the licensing, you would be getting around 60% savings. If customers would be implementing and running WVD themselves, they would save another 60% of cost on labor. This is because they would be using platform as a service solution with significantly simplified infrastructure setup and management in the cloud. Let's now deep dive in some cost-saving scenarios. The first significant saving comes from the Windows 10 experience at multi-session cost. Why does that matter? It matters because other solutions normally require to use Windows Server RDS, which compromises the user experience. User must use Windows Server as an operating system, or Windows 10 single session, which is expensive, since for each session a separate VM must be kept running. With RDS, you can have both. Let's consider a customer migration scenario here. If customer using Windows 10 single session on-premise today, because of they want a better user experience, WVD is the best solution for them going forward. Not only does it provide the local Windows 10 experience for the end user, but also significantly saving via multi-session deployment. Allow me to explain why. For the single session deployment, on the left-hand side, one small VM is needed per user, which usually ends up with low utilization. In comparison, for the multi-session deployment in the central panel, it's possible to have a large shared VM to support multiple users, leading to high utilization. In addition to that, due to fewer VM, operational costs can be expected lower. In comparison, for the multi-session deployment in the center, it's possible to have a large shared VMs to support multi-users, leading to the high utilization. In addition to that, due to fewer VMs, low operational cost can be expected. As a result, a multi-session should cost around 1/6 of the single session as shown here on the right-hand side. It's significant because there is no other solution in the market that supports Windows 10 multi-session. As for the second significant savings, as WVD runs on Microsoft Azure, consider the impact on compute and storage cost. These two cost components usually account for approximately 90% of total infrastructure cost. Similar to the previous slide, here we compare WVD with on-premise virtualization. On the left side, we have on-premise virtualization, which requires payment for the peak usage irrespective of actual usage. Payments amount to the same as if the peak capacity were always in use, and cost cannot be reduced. In WVD, customers can only pay for their actual use of lesser utilized VMs and select reserved instances for the highly utilized VMs. As a result, customers can save around 30% in VMs because of the ability to optimize cost based on the usage. Another key point to mention regarding cost is the fundamental benefit for cloud economics. Because customers only need to pay for what they use, they don't need to commit an upfront CapEx investment. Later, if business requirements change and they need to wind down an operation, they can easily do so without being left with expensive software and hardware investment that are difficult to scale down. Let's now move on to licensing savings. An exceptionally important technical component, and therefore also significant portion of licensing cost, is often the management service, web access, gateway, licensing server, and load balancing. Normally, in an on-premise environment, customer would need to deploy from the scratch with internal resources or external partners. It takes time and is costly. In WVD, management services, including management infrastructure, is already provided, so customers no longer need to worry about complicated deployment. Better yet, a large number of customers are already entitled to WVD use rights with the licenses they currently own, such Windows 10 E3, E5, or Microsoft 365 E3, E5. As a result, there is no additional licensing cost to use WVD. This comes in addition to the benefits that results from elimination of management infrastructure and the reduced labor needed to provide the service. Of course, customers who require Citrix or VMware management services to meet their needs will incur additional cost. Customers currently using Windows Server RDS CALs can eliminate that cost if they move to Windows 10 multi-session use on WVD. There is an obvious savings here. The third source of savings relates to those of our customers still for some reason using Windows 7. This is clearly not a small number of customers. With WVD, 3 years Windows 7 extended security updates are included. The savings can vary, but may go up around $200 per year in some cases. Do note, however, this benefit applies to Windows 7 VMs running in WVD on Azure, and is not applicable to Windows 7 running on local devices. Also note that multi-session is not possible for Windows 7. And finally, a couple of words about labor savings your customers are likely to make. Microsoft eliminates that by using always up-to-date platform as a service. Customers might save around 60% of labor cost. This would happen because migration to the cloud would eliminate an overhead related to managing on-premise infrastructure. Additionally, because WVD is always kept up to date with all feature, security, capability updates, it would save significant effort compared with upgrading on-prem infra every 3 to 5 years. Let us now review some real-life calculations. While these have been made in US dollars using Azure cost in the US, generally the same logic and cost proportions apply here in Europe, so it's a good illustration to use. In this example, the customer has two groups of users. The user group 1 has 800 medium workload users, which you may think about someone who primarily uses Microsoft Office applications, moving from Windows Server RDS on-prem to Windows 10 multi-session in WVD. User group 2 has 200 medium workload users, moving from Windows 10 single session on-premise to Windows 10 multi-session in WVD. Let's take a look of what type of cost savings we can achieve. Starting from here, in the left bar, the total on-premise cost for these two user groups is $38,600, with $17,400 for infrastructure and $21,200 for licensing. The first savings is multi-session, which is assuming user group 2, which is currently single session, can move to multi-session and therefore save 8,600 by reducing the number of VMs required. The second saving is so-called Linux rate. It means customers only need to pay for infrastructure, no licenses. The saving applies to user group 1. The customer would normally need to purchase a Windows Server license for this group, which is no longer required after moving to WVD. Therefore, this cost goes into savings. The next benefit is pay for actual usage, which is cost advantage of the cloud. Group 1 only uses their desktop on average 170 hours per month, so it makes sense for users group 1 to choose pay-per-as-you-go option. So far, we have looked at these three types of savings in blue related to infrastructure, which contributed to approximately 70% of savings in infrastructure when moving to WVD from on-premise. Next, let us focus on the two types of licensing cost savings in orange. The first licensing cost savings is management service. The management service is provided by WVD, so the customer can shift to a WVD built-in management plane versus building their own infrastructure to host the management service and save the cost. In addition, for the user group 1, the customer can get rid of RDS-Cal by moving Windows 10 in WVD, which would otherwise be required by Windows Server RDS. These two types of WVD cost benefits can save the customer around 60% of the licensing cost compared to the on-prem. After applying these benefits, the WVD cost ends up at $30,300, only 35% over the original on-premise cost. Please note that these figures are approximate and used as illustrations. Whenever you need to do a real calculations for your customers, please reach out also. We have over 70 certified Azure professionals and are happy to help you with this and other Azure calculations. Just let us know. Let us return in more detail to three key scenarios that we briefly discussed earlier. Replace migrate on-premise virtual desktop deployments, sell new Windows virtualization, manage Windows 7 end of support with WVD. Let's start with replacing existing on-prem deployments. Customers that have existing solutions usually want to reduce the complexity, effort, and the cost, which is related to managing these solutions and improving user experience. Loading times are slow, employees are not happy, and the solution is expensive. WVD offers dramatically improved user experience, great savings, and simple management. All these are important points to consider migration. Here is a cost comparison of migrating on-premise solution to WVD. This is a simple case with just one group of 75 users being migrated. Cost saving come from three basic components. First is a saving of moving from Windows Server-based virtualization to Windows Desktop on Azure and paying for VM only. This makes over $500 savings in this example. Second component is saving that comes from paying for actual as opposed for peak usage. Here savings are smaller, $75 in this example. And the third, complete elimination of RDS-Cal, providing $525 savings. In total, it makes over $1,000 saving, which makes over 30,000 savings per year. Let's now discuss selling new desktop virtualization project. At the very beginning of this presentation, we reviewed the type of business need desktop virtualization can solve. Consider your customers specifically. Most likely some of them are in regulated industries and need to maintain a high level of security and compliance. Some of your customers that would be interested in the possibility of using specialized workloads for scenarios like video rendering. I believe that majority of your customers would be interested in desktop virtualization specifically because it enables workforce flexibility and work from home in a secure, highly manageable mode with a great user experience and access to the all specific tools and applications they require to do their work. Typical business concerns that WVD addresses are access to full work environment, including line of business applications, device security and compliance, and high manageability. Usual customer pain points are that employees cannot really access the full work environment. Their productivity is low because of slow loading times and the user experience limitations, and that usually solutions are costly and complex. As discussed today, WVD provides Azure Active Directory-based access, isolated user sessions, by far the best user experience, native Office 365 performance, and it's much easier to manage, and it's very cheap in fact. Scenario C is managing Windows 7 end of support. So why this is a good business opportunity? First of all, there are still thousands of customers out there who continue to run Windows 7. Managing unsupported operating system is difficult and expensive. In fact, Microsoft provides customers with extended security update for purchase. However, the price for these updates are increasing sharply every year. In 2022, customers will be paying $200 for security updates to Windows 7 Pro and $100 for enterprise version updates. Fortunately, there is a WVD. If customers virtualize their desktops, they receive free extended security updates for their virtualized Windows 7 desktops. To summarize, customer concerns are security and compliance, and their pain points are the need to modernize applications, and more immediately, that their users often cannot access Windows 7 based applications from home. Managing Windows 7 on virtualized desktops is easier, and customers also get extended security updates free of charge.